Hello everyone. Ready for an alarming statistic? According to the World Wildlife Fund, there's been a 60% decline in populations of mammals, fish, amphibians, reptiles, and birds over the past 40 years. My name is Cailyn B, and a major goal I have is to help preserve wildlife for generations after me. This doesn't necessarily mean that I want to be a professional conservationist, but I still want to be able to pursue my passion of wildlife conservation. This led me to wonder how I, a 17-year-old from Bow, New Hampshire, could impact wildlife around the world. I developed an essential question that could extend to all of you. What can individuals or groups of individuals do to help wildlife conservation? The answer? A lot. Oh, it works. Okay. Sorry. Why am I so passionate about wildlife conservation? Well, it all started in 4th grade on a family vacation to Puerto Rico. One of the days, my family decided we were going to go snorkeling. So there I am, flippers, snorkel mask and all, in the oceans of Puerto Rico, and I look down, and on the ocean floor, I see a sea turtle. It was the first and only sea turtle I've ever seen in person. When I got back to the shore, I asked my mom if she had seen the sea turtle. She told me that she did, and that she was happy I got to see it. When I asked her why, I was expecting some funny, sarcastic answer like, well, you live in the middle of New Hampshire, Cailyn. But what she actually said shocked me. My mom explained to me that if I ever have kids, they most likely will never see a sea turtle, because there will be no more sea turtles for them to see. This experience stuck with me and motivated me to protect wildlife like the sea turtle. In 8th grade FACS, I discovered my love for sewing. I made all kinds of creations, including bucket hats, bracelets, scrunchies, pillows, and even a mini replica of the bridesmaid's dress at my parents' wedding. When I began senior seminar, I knew I wanted to do a project I would be passionate about. This left me to choose between wildlife conservation and sewing, until one day, I was speaking to Nicole Hodgkins. She graduated from Bow in 2016, so any teacher here might remember her. And she started her business 4 years later. It's an online website that is all devoted to fashion, so she sells clothes from sustainable wholesalers. When I asked her why she started her own business, she told me it was for environmentally friendly reasons. The fast fashion industry is the most harmful industry on our environment, and she wanted to make a local business where people could get sustainable clothes that are cute and sustainable. She partnered her business with a storefront in Concord Main Street. You might know it. It's Lily's Designer Retail. So when I asked her why she partnered her business with this storefront, she said it was also for environmental reasons. Lily's Designer Retail is a consignment shop, so it takes clothes at the end of their first lives and gives them a second, a third, a fourth, etc. amount of lives. This keeps these clothes out of landfills, which is very environmentally friendly. This conversation sparked my inspiration for my project. If Nicole could combine her fashion passion with sustainability, then I could combine my two passions into one project. As I said, I developed an essential question, and the goal of my question was to find examples of how people have helped wildlife conservation in the past. Forming connections with the world around us, advocating for and educating about, or completing actions are all examples that directly help our wildlife. While researching, I found a TED Talk presented by a lion conservationist in Zimbabwe, Africa. She worked with Cecil the lion. Now you may have heard of Cecil the lion. This lion was poached from a national park by trophy hunters, and his death launched a movement claiming that our wildlife was in danger and we need to be the ones to help protect it. Maura Angelis, the lion conservationist, claimed in her TED Talk that if people around Cecil the lion had formed a community of wanting to protect their wildlife by forming a connection with their wildlife, they would be more apt to protect it from threats, including the poachers. I found myself at a loss. How could there be people who didn't have a connection with their wildlife and didn't want to protect it? I discovered an article that explained this. People think that a loss of wildlife doesn't directly affect them, but it does. We as humans are not exempt from the rules of the planet. This image is a trophic pyramid. So if one section of the pyramid is affected, all other sections of the pyramid are affected, whether it's a negative or a positive effect. Considering that we are part of this pyramid, we are affected. This is why we must advocate for wildlife conservation and convince others to do the same. I began to think of how I was educated on the topic of wildlife conservation. It all boiled down to one children's story. Now, if you've never read the Lorax, I am sure you've heard of the Lorax. It follows the story of the greedy onceler who traveled to a valley filled with truffula trees, and he cut down truffula trees to make the needs. One day, the Lorax, who speaks for the trees, appeared to him and told him if he kept doing what he was doing, bad things would happen. The onceler didn't listen and cut down the very last truffula tree. Because of this, the Swansea swans, the barbaloots, and the hummingfish were all forced to move away from the habitat that they loved so much, because they couldn't thrive without the foundation, which was the truffula tree. Of course, this is just a children's story, but it teaches the importance of saving our wildlife to children. It also teaches them that they need to be like the Lorax and speak not only for the trees, but for the entirety of our wildlife. So I wanted to make a positive impact on our wildlife. For my project, I sewed scrunchies and bracelets, so my passion of sewing, and sold them to raise money for the World Wildlife Fund. This allowed the message of my project to spread to others just by a customer wearing this scrunchie. So I have a bracelet on right now, and then in my hair there's a scrunchie. I don't know if you can see it. But I sold these, so the prices were one scrunchie or bracelet for $2 and 3 scrunchies or bracelets for $5. I set up a student checking account to keep all of the funds in one place. The difference between a student checking account and a regular account is that a student checking account can be drained all the way to zero without the account holder being charged extra. This was exceptionally important for my project because I wanted to be able to donate all of the funds I received to the World Wildlife Fund. I chose the World Wildlife Fund as the receiver of my donation for several reasons. The main reason is that there's many ongoing active projects being done by the World Wildlife Fund. For example, there's a whole project dedicated to maintaining the 30 Hills habitat, which is the last location where orangutans, elephants, and tigers can coexist. Not only did I provide an example of an individual helping wildlife, but every customer who bought a scrunchie made a direct, positive impact on the wildlife around them, also making them examples. A grand total of $172 was donated to the World Wildlife Fund, and this came from exactly 80 scrunchies and bracelets being sold. This money came from customers at Bow High School, in Chicago where my sister lives, in Pennsylvania where my other sister lives, and fans at a Bow High School football game, where my project was announced on the loudspeaker. No big deal or anything. As you can see, you do not need to be a professional conservationist to help wildlife conservation. What can you do to help? Now that's up to you. Whether you educate, advocate, act, or even buy a scrunchie from a senior for her senior project, you are making a positive impact on the world around you. I encourage all of you, after you leave my presentation, to spread the word about my project. Spread the word about how the need for wildlife conservation is high and how you can be a part of the efforts. I have extra scrunchies and bracelets that are free of charge because I already made my donation. So if you would like to spread the word by wearing one, come and see me and I can give you an extra. As the Lorax once said, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing's going to get better. It's not. Thank you.